is the bailout necessary? I would say, all the people who say it's necessary, I'd say, for what? And that usually shuts them up. Running around talking about the Great Depression is not serious. This is just silly scare tactics. And it reflects the contempt that these people have for the public. The public overwhelmingly is opposed to this bailout. The elite is almost unanimously in favor of it. The elite has absolute contempt for the public. They're going, their emotions got carried away with them. They thought this was, a handout to Wall Street. Well, guess what? The public is exactly right. The elites don't know what they're talking about. They let their emotions get carried away with them. They don't know what bad thing will happen if we don't do the bailout tomorrow, Thursday, before Congress goes away. We don't do it for a month. What will happen? None of them could tell you. They all know it's supposed to be really, really bad, but none of them could tell you. The people who are selling us this, the people who are talking to us like we're little kids, President Bush, Henry Paulson, Ben Bernanke, they missed it. We're in this crisis because they missed it. It really takes some nerve to people who totally messed up their job to come out and talk to us like we're idiots. In understanding where we are, again, I'll hit on my one note, housing bubble, housing bubble, housing bubble. If you don't understand the housing bubble, you don't know what you're talking about. We had a $8 to $10 trillion housing bubble over the decade from 96 to 2006. House prices rose by more than 80% by one measure, 100% in excess of inflation. Over the prior 100 years, 1895 to 1995, house prices had just kept even with inflation. This should have been real simple. In other words, every economist who does this for a living should have been able to look at those numbers and go, housing bubble, housing bubble, housing bubble. And when you look at the bailout, you could have designed, this is a horribly designed bailout from the get-go. I don't know a single economist who thought that was a way to design a bailout. But you could have taken this one and fixed it so that it wasn't enriching the executives on Wall Street. It wasn't enriching the shareholders. They didn't do that. It was a joke. These were the provisions put in there were sorts of things you give to children. These were not serious provisions. The executive compensation caps, what I said about those is any executive who couldn't get around those caps should be fired. This is a joke. I mean, these are joke provisions, and it was just an insult to the American people. Everything about this was an insult to the American people. There might be nothing bad that happens. We're in a recession. We're in a recession because we lost $4 to $5 trillion in housing bubble wealth. The financial markets are absolutely strained. Some big banks have gone under. Many more almost certainly will. But from the standpoint of the public and from that vantage point, the standpoint of the economy, we don't need the big banks. That's not our problem. We could keep the financial system operating. That's what we care about. The fact that banks go under, that's bad news for the bank executives, who get paid tens of millions of dollars, by the way. It's bad news for the shareholders who are going to lose all their money in those banks. For the rest of us, we have no particular interest in that. Which should I consider more important, a serious stimulus to give a boost to the economy or $700 billion to keep these guys on Wall Street happy? Doesn't take a second. We do have to fix the financial system. My view is go back to the drawing board, try and do it right. If that's not acceptable, fine, because the losers in this story are the Wall Street banks. I wrote a piece yesterday. I said, what's going on here is they have a gun pointed at their head, and they're trying to tell us that if we don't give them $700 billion, they're going to pull the trigger. And I'm willing to live with that.